Okay, well, we're going to talk about LinkedIn advertising and what you do to turn LinkedIn into a pay-per-click platform that you can actually make money off of. And so, a little bit about me. I really like to ski, which is really good because it's cold here in the winters. I ski with just about anybody, so if you're looking for a ski buddy in the winter, call me. I love to play Ultimate Frisbee. I have yet to find any really good games that consistently happen in Idaho, so also if you happen to know where those occur, come talk to me. In Utah it was easy. It's not easy. I don't care if I have to go play with a single sport, really I don't, but as you can see, I just like to use my height against people. It's fun. And I really love grass-fed beef. My dad raises grass-fed beef down south of Pocatello, and I have a never-ending supply of really awesome meat in the freezer, so I don't even really go to steakhouses because I've been spoiled. And I love PPC. These are some places I write, speak places, whatever. Okay, now, why should you even care about LinkedIn PPC? First, they have really awesome demographic targeting that's hard to find in a lot of other places. You can target people based on geography, which is kind of a no-brainer. Everybody offers that. But you can also get into the wealth of information that people have given you on their LinkedIn profiles. People tell you how old they are. They tell you where they have worked in the past as well as where they currently work. They tell you how much education they have. They tell you what their responsibilities are at work. Everybody's endorsing everybody for skills, so supposedly they even know what skills you have. Your members, you sign up to join groups. And so LinkedIn knows an incredible amount of information about each one of their users because the users are constantly giving them more and more of this demographic information that Google wishes it could get through their Google Plus platform, but no one uses it. And probably the number one biggest advantage that LinkedIn has over any other social network. Facebook has some really cool things going on and they're doing really well, but when someone's on LinkedIn, they're on there for a business purpose. They are looking for a job, they are vetting a potential employer, they're researching a company, they're interacting in professional groups. You don't go and look at cat pictures or funny videos or wish people happy birthday on LinkedIn. When you're there for a business purpose, and so because people are in a business mindset, if you know who you're trying to reach in a business sense, you can get them in a time when they're in the correct mindset. And this is the huge advantage that LinkedIn has over any of your other social networks. It's also really handy if you have done a whole ton of AdWords, you've expanded it into Bing ads, and you just need more volume. It provides a nice incremental volume source. And then lastly, when those start to get more and more expensive, like you could expand your AdWords account, but it starts to get diminishing returns, it allows you to go to another platform where you can get the really good returns on the earlier part of your campaign development on a different platform. So what I'm going to talk about is basically I've distilled it down to the 4 cornerstones that you have to have if you're going to succeed on LinkedIn. You fail at those and you'll just tank. I have a case study of a campaign that was launched, and month 1 we were able to see really good results because we had all of those cornerstones in place and it was on a solid foundation. I'll also talk about the pitfalls because LinkedIn has its intricacies and eccentricities just like every platform does. And then 3 tests that you could try right away if you wanted to. This is Wikipedia. My wife's an English teacher. She would hate that I'm citing it, but when you think of a cornerstone, what I need you to think of is not the cornerstone that you see on the left. You'll see this in a lot of old architecture. It usually has the guy who funded the building or an architect's name on it. It's totally the vanity plate of a building. It doesn't serve any structural purpose. The real cornerstones are under the ground, buried. You will never see them in a normal building unless something bad happens. But everything, the whole building, if those aren't done right, the whole building is hosed. And so it's really important that you get these right. Okay, so 4 cornerstones. Number 1, you have to have a well-defined persona. AdWords spoiled everybody because you knew exactly what people wanted because they just typed it into the bar and hit enter. And so it was easy. If they're searching for this, then you offer them this because it's a solution, and it's really easy because they have broadcast their intent. When when it comes to advertising on a network like this, you need to know exactly who you're going to reach and how that persona needs to be defined is in the sense of the targeting available. Obviously, you have the geographic constraints, but you want to think of them in the sense of what do they do with their job every day? How high in an organization are they? What type of organization are they in? What industries are they in? What groups would they be participating? If you can take, the customers that you're getting through your AdWords and your Bing Ads platforms, and profile them in a way that you can target on LinkedIn in a business sense, you'll have really, really good success because you'll be putting those ads in front of the right people, and they're on LinkedIn, they're thinking about business, so the timing is really quite good. And then, of course, that leads into the ad copy. It's just like display advertising. You have to have really catchy copy. I mean, it's got to be, irresistible copy. Like, have you ever been in someone's house when the phone rings and they don't answer it? Like, it's not even your phone, but think of how you feel just listening to a phone ring when no one picks it up. I mean, you almost feel like you should answer it for them, even if you don't really know them. You'll walk over like, this is so-and-so's house. Like, you're compelled. That's the kind of copy you need because they are on there for another reason. Like, they're looking for a job, or they are checking out this guy who just sent them an application to see, like, if his LinkedIn matches his resume. And so you kind of need to show them something that's a little bit, like, you need to distract them from what they're doing and say, hey, like, we have this really cool thing. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I do need that. And in LinkedIn, there are two ways of doing that. The old school way is kind of your right-hand ads that you'll see in a little 3-pack. It's usually ways down the side. It's not great placement. Sponsored updates are much better for engagement. It puts it right into the feed on their homepage, makes it look just like a post. It has the little label, so if they're savvy, they can see that it's an advertisement. But the engagement rates, the click-through rates are just astronomically better if you're doing sponsored updates. And you can do a dark post like Facebook so that you can put something on your company page, but it doesn't actually have to show up in your feed and go out to everybody who follows your company. You just put it in as a dark post and then promote it through a sponsored update. And so you can have really cool, like, custom ones for every one of your little persona categories, and it doesn't clutter up your feed with all of these, really similar posts. And then the copy, of course, needs to lead to the offer that you have. And the offer needs to be something that's of real value to the person. It can't just, the whole idea of, like, learn more just does not, like, work at all. Or see something, like, they don't care. Like, you've got to give them something. I'm a big fan of Disneyland. How many people have been to Disneyland? Okay, have you seen the kids who have the little chocolate ice cream bars that are shaped like Mickey? Like chocolate-coated ice cream bars? They're amazing. They cost a fortune. They're like $8, but they're amazing. It's Disney, right? You want your offer to be as though you're handing those out for free at Disneyland. Like, people are just like, holy crap, this is so cool. Like, thanks. Like, this is great. The offer needs to be something that they really do appreciate. And then lastly, you've got to have your own conversion tracking because LinkedIn still doesn't have conversion tracking built into their platform. You'd think that, since affiliate programs have been running for like 20 years and they figured out that whole pixel on the thank you page thing that long ago, that LinkedIn could just, get some kid in college to put together that for them since it's pretty easy to do. But no, they don't. So you have to have a way to track everything yourself, which usually means that you get really, really good at tagging URLs and you get into your analytics a lot more. Okay, and so this is a company that I worked with where they had really, really well done AdWords and Bing accounts. They had covered all their bases on keywords. They had their display advertising that was getting them great results. They had all their remarketing set up, and they had just expanded it to the point where, like, there was the cutoff on their CPA, and, like, they just couldn't find any more volume. And so they wanted to try some LinkedIn advertising. They're a SaaS company, and so it worked really well for them because they knew, it's a B2B product. LinkedIn, B2B tends to do better than B2C. And They knew exactly who they wanted to. They actually took their customer database and they pulled their job titles because they had job titles on all of their customers. They looked at how big the companies were, what companies they were. They had a very, like, they actually had a CEO kind of like yours who the team was in charge of his LinkedIn, and so he was connected to tons of people. They knew, like, what groups these people participated in actively. They knew who they wanted to reach very specifically and how they wanted to reach them. And then we took some of their best offers and landing pages that they had been using. You know, we created new ones so that we could get the tracking that we needed, and we pushed it out the door. And this is what their landing page looked like. I anonymized it because their legal has yet to tell me I can put the other 3 boxes of information in there. But I just wanted you to see that this is their landing page. It is nothing fancy. This is something that almost any company from a technical standpoint could pull off with very simple HTML and CSS. There's nothing fancy going on with this form. It just sends it into their database and then someone contacts them. So they're not doing any magic on their landing pages here to get these results. But things worked really, really well for them. I mean, they pushed this out the door, and month 1, we were able to get them a really good conversion rate. This is way better than their other channels. And we were actually able to get a CPA lower than their AdWords and their Bing. And a lot of that is because they knew who they wanted to reach. They had really good ad copy. I mean, we borrowed some from the kind of current champion ads that they had on their other platforms. They had a really good offer. This is an ebook. You know, you saw on the previous page it was an ebook. It was actually related to LinkedIn. It was like how their company can help you with LinkedIn. So it was very platform specific, very relevant. And they, of course, threw their CEO's name on it as the author, even though it was totally ghostwritten. But, you know, he had a name in the industry so people would recognize it. And so it portrayed the value. And then, as you can see, we tracked everything. We knew which campaigns were doing well. We had ads tagged so that we knew which images were performing better. And so we could run all of the analytics to know what was really working. The reason that they slowed it down is because they have a very long, like 3 to 6 month sales cycle. And at the moment, actually I learned later, they were getting more funding at the time, but they only had a certain amount of budget that they could commit. And so we actually had to rein it in. Now they've blown it up, but anyway. Then there are some pitfalls that you just have to know about LinkedIn before you get into it so that you don't fall on your face. The first is profile incompleteness. It's LinkedIn's #1 problem, right behind the conversion tracking. And there are so many things that LinkedIn does know about profiles, but there's a lot of things that they don't know about their profiles. I mean, the one that I just am kind of blown away is like 78%. They don't have a company size. Like, you've told them who you work for, and they probably have other people in LinkedIn who also say they work for the same people, but 3 and 4 companies, they don't have any information on the company size. And so there's this idea that if you know, this is a Venn diagram I made using paint. It's awesome. Imagine that you're targeting the entire high-tech industry. That's the circle. And then you have like seniority level. You have all the little circles here. So say you want to reach decision makers and you pick VPs, owners, CXO, director. So like the 4 highest guys in the organization, and you target those little circles. You've excluded everyone who's lower, but you also, like, as soon as you pick one of those specific ones, you lose all that gray area in this Venn diagram. You lose all of it. And so there are people that, because LinkedIn can't say, oh yeah, we know that this guy is senior level, then you lose them by picking the senior level posts. And I'll show you in the 3 tests how you can get around this and capture these great people. And then they report all their statistics in Greenwich Mean Time. There is no setting for that. So if you have an in-house like monitoring tracking system that is on your time zone, it will be really, really hard for you to sync up like clicks and spend in their system with like what you see on your systems, and almost impossible. The company made, like the client in the case study made a really, like the best effort I've ever seen, and they still couldn't completely solve it. It's stupid, but it's LinkedIn, and you just have to deal with it. There's an option where you can do optimize versus rotate, and I know a lot of hardcore testers in the PPC world, you always go with rotate. Do not go with rotate initially on LinkedIn. There is we joke that it's Thor's hammer. Um, if your ad doesn't do really well in the first like 4 to 5,000 impressions, like it just gets banished. And so like when the hammer hits you, like if you've done well, like they will show you to everybody and they will just keep showing it. And if it doesn't, like it just disappears. And even though it's live, it's not showing anywhere and it stops accruing impressions. And at that point, just change the copy, change the image, delete it and submit a new one. Like you have to reset it and give it another chance. And it's really kind of a pain because they have ad approval, and so like you never know what time they're going to approve it. And so like, did it get those 4,000 impressions at 2 a.m.? Did it get them at 9 a.m.? Did it get them at 4 in the afternoon on a Friday when everyone had already left their office? And so there's a little bit, it's hard, and so sometimes you just have to just reset ads, and like it didn't work, and then it does work, and it's the exact same ad, but it was just a matter of when it got out there and if it worked. Because a like 0.035% click-through rate on right rail ads is like average for them, like really bad rates. And when you get into, you're talking like tenths of a percent when you get into the main feed with sponsored updates. I've rarely seen anything over 1%, and it was only on a few sponsored updates that were really, really cool. There's a no account spending limit, so if you've just started advertising, they'll cap you like $100 a day for like 2 weeks if you don't contact them and tell them to give you more money. We ran into that really quickly. And the audience network, there's one redeeming quality in the audience network. It's like Search Partners, but for LinkedIn, and it's the only redeeming quality is SlideShare. Everything else is garbage. But SlideShare is the one cool thing in LinkedIn's audience network where you can actually get some nice benefit. I recommend if you're starting out though, uncheck the box. It's checked by default. It's on the last page of your campaign creation. Just leave it off until you've really got things humming and you want a little bit more incremental volume, then turn it on. Obviously, more control would be better. But 3 targeting strategies that you can use if you're running something. 1, you've got to think about people in more than one way. It's easy to be like, oh, hey, job titles, awesome. Like, just plug in a bunch of job titles and go. But if you think about it, how else can you reach the same person? Well, if you target a person by their job function, because that's one of the ways that you can split people out. So you could say, like, I want someone who's in finance and who is seniority level CXO. Who's the C-level guy in finance? It's the CFO. And so you can have a campaign that's like Chief Financial Officer, CFO, and all the variations of CFO. And then you can have one that you've created with job function and a job seniority level, and the numbers don't match because there are people that LinkedIn will consider the CXO in the finance of an organization who don't have the title of CFO, either because the user didn't put it or whatever it is. But if you're going to target that persona, you actually need separate campaigns to target them in different ways so that you make sure you're covering all your bases. And then also groups. This is a biggie because there are some really, really active groups in LinkedIn that have really good people in them. And so if you've got a guy who's a casual user, he doesn't have a really built out profile, but he's actually your prospect, a guy you want to reach, and he's actively participating in this group, a group might be the only way that you can get in front of this guy, who, even though he might be the right person, but he didn't complete his profile or LinkedIn didn't pick up on it. And then also with skills, that's the endorsing thing that you do to people, where like, endorse this person for whatever. Like basically you're running around, LinkedIn users are running around labeling people saying, advertise to this guy for this, and advertise for this guy for that. And so if you really want to play a joke on somebody, get like 20 of your friends and endorse one of your friends for something really bizarre, and just watch what happens to their feed as they get sponsored updates. Not saying that you should, but it's funny. Parallel targeting. This is an idea where, if you're familiar with the sci-fi genre, parallel universes are really popular. The new X-Men movie, Days of Future Past, it's kind of this idea of like, oh my gosh, the future sucks, send somebody back to fix it so it never happens. And so you can create alternate timelines. Well, in LinkedIn, like let's say you're my dad, you're trying to sell your grass-fed beef to people, and you realize that inside, eastern Idaho and northern Utah, there's not a lot of people on LinkedIn who, have said that they're into grass-fed beef, and, surprisingly. But what you might have learned is that what my dad has learned in experience is the people who are into homeschooling, a lot of times end up being into grass-fed beef. because people who are into grass-fed beef have opted out of the system. Like they've said, I'm not going to buy my meat at the supermarket. I'm going to buy it from a farmer directly. And who are those same people? They're the same people that are like, I am not sending my kid to public school. I'm going to teach them myself so they get exactly the right education, right? And so you can target people based on a parallel, like say you're a business and you market to the data analysts of of a company, and so you've been targeting people who are like director manager level and their job titles are like data analyst, da da da. Well, why not target Excel skills? Because any data analyst, any self-respecting data analyst is really good with tools like Excel or your enterprise statistical packages like SPSS or whatever. So you can target them based, it's not a direct targeting, but like those are the same people, right? The people who are really good data analysts also have those skills. And so doing that parallel targeting is something that you'll have to feel out intuitively based on the demographics, but it can work really, really well. And then exclusionary targeting. With that gray circle, if you want to keep the gray, you target an industry, and then instead of saying, I want like all the high-level guys, VP, owners, CXO, and directors, you say, I want everyone in that industry. I don't want entry level. I don't want managers. I don't want senior. And you exclude all the things you know you don't want, and so it keeps all of the gray area as well as the 4 circles that you actually wanted. It's kind of obfuscated in the current interface. There's a little like line of text. It's like exclusion. You have to click it and pop it open. It's kind of a pain to find, but it's really powerful because it allows you to keep those uncategorized people in your campaigns so that you don't limit yourself. Because once you get below 1,000 people in a campaign, it just won't even show. And even if you have less than 10,000, sometimes you don't get a lot of impressions. And so like, bigger audiences tend to help. This is, in all of the United States, if you exclude like every company size, there are still 78 million people. I've told LinkedIn I don't want to advertise to anyone who's in a company size of any number, and there are still 78 million people. And this is the same thing where I've excluded like every job function that they have in their system. So basically I'm saying I want everybody who doesn't have any type of job function. And there are 51 million people of those in that group. And so as you can see, these gray areas are really quite large. And so exclusionary targeting helps you keep those people. Here are some things that you can go read if you want to learn a little bit more about this. They're really, LinkedIn PPC, that's a site that I run, so it's not as up to date as it should be, but that's me, and this is my contact information. What questions do you guys have? I mean, I don't want to keep you guys very long, so let's say maybe 5 minutes. Is that okay? Okay. Anybody have questions? Fire. Actually, it's a company I worked with where they were they have several hundred campaigns, and they had kind of reached the limit on their direct targeting. That's why it pushed us into this realm of like parallel targeting. We had to think really, really beyond what, I mean, they were doing all of the like job titles, seniority plus function, like they had all the groups, all the skills, like they had hammered that ad nauseum. And so the Excel thing, we actually managed to create a top 15 campaign in 3 months using that idea of parallel targeting. So it's not totally theoretical, but continue. Well, we maintain a lot of the exclusionary targeting that we had learned from our previous campaigns. So we knew, so even though we said like Excel skills, we were still excluding certain like job seniority levels. We were still excluding, like, we were still like weeding out the stuff that we knew wasn't going to work. Industries, whole industries, you can just whack the whole arts industry off. It sucks. Like, I mean, sorry, but certain industries tend to do better than others. Especially with LinkedIn, where you're really heavy on the B2B stuff. I mean, obviously, everything in the like high tech, your technology stuff, And so we used a lot of exclusionary stuff to whack off things that we knew weren't really qualified. And with the exclusionary targeting only used to apply to certain areas, I think it's almost every targeting criteria you can have negatives on. You can have exclusions as well now. But a campaign can only have a maximum of 150 things total, which means that as you start targeting a lot of things and then excluding a bunch of others, you actually start to run into that. But it's an arbitrary limit that they have set inside the system that they're not going to change. That's what they told us. Okay. Anyone else have a question? Mark and then Lucas. Mm-hmm. I've worked with a couple of companies that did like demos, but it wasn't. And we tested different things. It's always a balance between qualification, because if you pushed the live demo where they were getting called and someone was walking them through the demo, it was more personalized because they would actually add the company's information before the call. So like it had their logo on the demo and it looked a lot nicer. But people, when they're signing up for that, they know that it's a sales guy. Like a sales guy is going to give you the demo, and some people just, even if it would be helpful, they won't do it. And so we were also testing a video demo. It was on demand. They could just give their email info and they could watch it. I mean, you get more of those, and the CPA goes down. But as we tracked them down funnel, we weren't getting great like statistical significance that one was better than the other. Like when you went all the way, 6 months down the road, which is kind of tough too because a lot of the companies I've worked with, usually it's a lead gen thing, and then they have a sales cycle. And it's hard to analyze 3 months down the road when you're talking revenue and then know like, oh man, we totally should have used that image more 4 months ago. It was way better. Or like, man, that offer was so much better 4 months ago. We should have changed that 3 months ago. And so I've seen really good success with demos. Obviously, you have to have kind of a software product that lends itself to a demo, but demos, ebooks are great. Checklists or guides, like step-by-step, like guides that show people how to do something. Those I've seen do well. You have a question, Lucas? Um, on the ads platform side, what you could do is you could set a geographic region. How far? I mean, are you willing to relocate somebody? Are you going to pay to relocate? Okay. Um, I would say go as far as you're willing to go geographically, and then just they have a they have medical like industries. You could target that industry, and then you could target like current like job level. You could just like if you're looking for a director, and like say it's HR, you could give them the HR like job function, director level in the industry that you want. And I mean, I don't even know if that's 1,000 people inside the geographic area that you would draw. But like those would be people who are probably already currently doing what you're looking for. And so you could advertise to those people. A sponsored update you could put up something that's like your job listing. You could post it out on your company page, and then you'd do a sponsored update so that people would see it in their feed. Or you could do the ads where they would be on the right side. Yep, the sponsored updates have all the same targeting as the ads. Okay. Well, guys, sorry about the technology stuff, but thanks for coming. Thank you.